Recently, I did something I tell myself all the time to stop doing. I tweaked my gear to change the sound. And it's a problem, and it's a problem that I struggle with because it gets in the way of enjoying the music. But there are ways to get around this, and that's what I want to talk about today. Now, I recently popped a quad set of these into my tube amp. This is the Tung-Sol KT150. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into why I enjoy, these or the style of tubes so much, but I will say this, that after a couple of weeks of enjoying these, I began to want more. Now, that initial excitement, that dopamine hit that I've talked about before on the channel, it began to wear off. So I found myself looking at the KT170s, which, as far as I know, and I could be wrong about this, the KT170s are the most powerful beam tetrode tube available, at least as far as audio gear goes. Again, I could be wrong, but I pulled the trigger and bought some. And here is where things got a little wonky for the next couple of weeks, which is roughly 11 to 12 listening sessions, or between 20 to 24 hours of listening. I wasn't listening to the music, I was listening to the tubes. I would get up, I would switch between triode and ultralinear mode. I'd adjust, say, the negative feedback a bit until I was satisfied with the sound. The truth of the matter was, I'm never really satisfied. Every time I dropped to the stylus, when I would sit down at the end of the day to listen, there was a bit of nervousness. Would it sound the same as it did the day before? Would my impressions have changed? Would I be happy with it? My brain would immediately go into diagnostic mode. Was that a touch of distortion I hear? Is the treble a little bit too hot? And wait, was that sibilance? Well, before the second verse, I'm already wondering if I need to realign the cartridge. Now, here's where things go wrong. And it helps to be aware of them as you go along in your own journey. Or maybe you're way ahead of me in the journey and some of this will resonate. Most of us, probably all of us, got into vinyl not because we wanted to worry about things like cartridge alignment or vertical tracking force or the next cool way to clean your stylus or something. We got into it because of how it makes us feel. Maybe it's the perceived warmth or even just the ritual. It's that desire to slow things down that putting a record on a turntable invites us to do. And then curiosity creeps in. It could be a forum post, it could be a YouTube video like this one, or it could be, a Reddit thread. But it's something that starts to talk about things like anti-skate or inner groove distortion or how to improve your sound. Maybe it's a thread about proper speaker placement, and it keeps you up way past your bedtime, trying to digest as much as you can and hopefully retain some of it so you can try it out the next day. When the next listening session comes, it's really all about implementing those things that you've learned or hooking up a new piece of gear or anything instead of just settling in to enjoy the music. Whereas the journey started out with a joy for the vinyl record playback experience, suddenly every pop, click, or hint of brightness becomes a problem to solve. I once spent an entire weekend thinking my cartridge was misaligned when it was the way the damned record itself was mastered. Now, what do you do to put the music in front of the gear? Well, here are some of the things that I've been trying to do. Pick a no-tweak album. Choose a record that you never listen to critically and just play it. Consider it a musical reset button. And, for example, here's one that I use. It's Frank Sinatra Live at the Sands. Now, this record here is pure enjoyment, and I don't listen to it critically. I listen to it to be entertained. And I love when Frank rips on Dean Martin about how much he drinks. It's hilarious. And the music on this record is amazing, especially with Count Basie and his orchestra backing up Sinatra. Schedule the tweaks. Set aside dedicated tweak time. That way, when you're listening to music, outside of that tweak time, it's all about the music. If I have a new set of tubes that I want to listen to that just come in, I'll push that out a couple of weeks. I'll tell myself, not now, just enjoy the music. In a couple of weeks, I'll set aside a couple of listening sessions, pop those tubes in, listen to them, and then I'll stop the tweaking and I'll just enjoy the music. But by doing this dedicated tweak time, I have made the music sacred outside of that tweak time. Maybe you play golf and you're looking at a new driver that you're pretty sure will up your game. You don't let the fact that you haven't yet tried it out to ruin the fun of being on the green, right? You can practice with it later. Trust your ears over the forums. And if it sounds good to you, don't let a Reddit thread talk you out of it. Seriously. It's really about what you enjoy. I spend a lot of time researching gear constantly, and every once in a while I'll run across, say, a Reddit thread or a forum comment or something that will make me question my own system. And I love listening to music through my system. Let's say it's a forum post about the Hana SH that I have. Maybe the poster or maybe the commenters, doesn't like it and lists out the reasons why. But I love it. Should I care what they say? Well, no, of course not. I should just trust my ears. And I admit it's hard not to be overcritical at times. And then again, there are many folks that are critical of the vinyl playback experience, but so what? Let them be. I don't care. I mean, so what if it bothers them that there's a pop or a hiss or a click? And well, just don't listen to vinyl. I really don't care. But the fact of the matter is, it's really about what you enjoy. If you like vinyl and you like CDs and you like streaming, wonderful. Do all of those things. Or if you just like vinyl, which is me, I just listen to vinyl, that's fine too. Or if you just like streaming, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you enjoy it and that you're listening to the music and not the gear. The format can come and go, but the music is always there. Now, if there are some, background noise on a vinyl record, embrace it, which leads me to this. Embrace a little patina. Surface noise, groove wear, or the occasional warp, that's all part of the vinyl playback experience. Don't stress about it. If you do hear like a little pop, don't jump out of your chair and go to check out the record. Just enjoy the music. There's always going to be some kind of background noise with any physical medium. I don't care what it is. Well, maybe not CDs, but you know what I'm talking about. Sure, the gear matters, but it's not everything. It's the experience. When we were first starting out, when we were younger or whatever the case may be, we listened to the music. When I was young listening to music, I hadn't even encountered the words soundstage or clarity or any of that stuff. I was just a kid listening to Blue Oyster Cult on my parents' simple system in the basement. It was only when I began to learn the jargon that audiophiles spout out that the gear obsession kicked in. And when that happens, that's when the gear begins to take center stage and the music is second place. Reconnect with the emotion. Ask yourself, how does this make you feel? If you connect to it and you do have an answer to that, then the music is doing its job. When Sinatra calls Martin a drunk, it makes me laugh. He's having fun, and I completely forget about my system. In that moment, I'm sitting with the audience in the Copa Room in 1966, and life doesn't get much better than that. So if you're caught up in a spiral of sonic second guessing, I had to do that 3 times to get it right. Spiral of sonic second guessing. Anyway, if you're caught up in that, just relax, put on something you love, and remember even if that something is a little bit beat up, and just remember what it is that brought you here in the first place. And sometimes the most hi-fi thing you can do is to just let it play. And really, that's about it. If any of this resonated, hit like and subscribe. It does help the channel. Leave a comment. Would love to hear from you. There's also a weekly newsletter. I think you might have seen something pop up during this video. It's free to subscribe to. It comes out once a week. But most of all, thank you so much for watching and thank you for being here. And until next time, take care of yourself and enjoy your records. See you soon.